Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to the Storytelling Alchemist show that is going to broadcast here live on YouTube tonight. Will be later on the LA Tribune's Roku TV. So check it out there in a couple days, as well as the previous episodes as well. I'm going to be bringing on a good friend of mine who I met a couple years ago on a cruise called the Waves of Light cruise. And then we were both speakers when it was stationary in the beginning of 2020. And one of the reasons why I want to bring him on the show tonight is because he has a very amazing outlook about manifesting abundance. We share a lot of the same views when it comes to manifesting abundance. And then, we also actually share the same birth month too, just about maybe 20 years apart, 20 some odd years apart. But let me bring on Garin Zina. I think you all are going to really love Garin. So bring on Garin here. And how you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So I was interested. We had a synchronicity on this, right? I mentioned abundance as the name of the show on Monday. And then you had said, I'd just been thinking about abundance and had a lot of interesting manifestations come up. And I don't know if you want to take a second to talk about that. Maybe that'll lead us into our conversation tonight about manifesting abundance.
Not even thinking about it, seeing pre-paved seeds that have germinated, seeing the images that one holds within their mind, visualizations, or expected assumed results, and then seeing them actually in the physical, it's like, oh my gosh, I created this. There's nothing as good as that feeling. Well, there are many things, but it's crazy because you look at your manifestation list, then you look back a year later and you're like, oh wow, I'm where I wanted to be.
I think I should mention that Garin is about 25,000 years old, something like that. What would you say about that? Is that a little
19? Just turned 19.
I heard that from a friend of mine years ago. He was about 22 years old. And he said, what are they doing trying to get in my business? I'm about 20,000 years old. And I mentioned that because about 16 or 17, you manifested yourself a car, am I correct? And you've been practicing manifestation for a long time. And one of the things you talked about at Waves of Light last year is the aspects of consciousness that we have, or the blocks that we have in our consciousness that prevent us from having the life that we want. Am I correct?
Very much so, whether it be belief system or just repressed emotion, very much so, yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that have happened recently that have caused the manifestations that have come in your life? Like you said where you wanted to be like a year ago, they've all come into your life. Is there anything that can you share, or?
Cryptocurrency.
Oh, nice.
Cryptocurrency, very much so. So I noticed that action often is accompanied with the when you have retrospect after having a long period of time of just you're grinding, doing work, putting energy and effort out there to get something done or accomplished or created. When you're at the retrospective point where you've kind of worked for a while and you're like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. Oh my, I've actually been doing this for longer than I thought. And then you look back on your results. That is something that is usually it's a difficulty, because in the beginning of creating something, we frequently expect to see results instantly. And that's the trap of instant gratification. And delayed gratification is the game. Let's just say that.
Well, I think in universal law or natural law, there is a law that talks about you have to be prepared for where what you're trying to manifest. And we were talking about exercise just before we came online, because I had been during the COVID year, I got even more out of shape than I'd ever probably expected. And then I was actually on the treadmill the other day, and you said exactly what I was thinking. And I thought, nothing in life moves without action. And so therefore, I've seen those results in my own professional career. I put in the work, I get promotions, or I get raises, or the work I get a nice house, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter what the material aspects of it are, but action had to be somewhere along those lines in the emotional preparation for getting there as well. And I think that that's a very valid response, that when we talk about people who want instant gratification, the world is based on this thing, right? And or what they can get instantly, and people don't want to put in the work that it requires to have that manifestation or that success. They want it magically to appear in their life. And that's fun too, because that happens sometimes.
I love it when it all happens and you're like, wow, this is kind of just like, it's what everybody says is not going to happen, and it's what everybody says is going to happen, and you experience everything, really.
Yeah, it just kind of, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
I said just all comes together right in perfect time. So that was
exactly. Well, and what's crazy is how it all almost happens by itself. I don't know if the audience is familiar with Chinese Taoism. In the Taoist philosophy or belief system or outlook, perspective, format of thinking, whatever you want to call it, it's a view of the universe as an automatic, almost subconscious blossoming of action and things. And it views all actions, human and emotional, mental, physical, all as kind of like outpourings of the great universal momentum. Now, that's kind of me paraphrasing the hell out of the book, but I recently went skydiving, and I have the little glasses for it, and I'm making a video about dopamine addiction right now. And I have to say about instant gratification, it is the greatest and most difficult hurdle, because it fosters the greatest poison of all, which is regret, because it's always about seeking the future and running from the past instead of being in the present.
That's really cool, because I'm thinking about I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Is it what we're always thinking about or hoping for a better future, and then we don't want to, or we're still stuck in the past about what was good in the past, or we're running away from what was in the past that hurt us in the past. And there's so many things that are tug pull. We're never just right here in this moment, enjoying what we're going through here and now. And so therefore then we want these lives, these wonderful lives, but we're not, that those are in those moments when you're with your friends, or when you're with your loved ones, or in those quiet times when you're by yourself. And so yeah. So the skydiving, how was it? Did you like it?
About those dark times that you were mentioning a second ago, those are the majority of times when you're in the dark room by yourself and you have no support from anybody other than your own mind, and you're kind of like, hey, I've been doing this for a while, I need a little motivation. You're the only shoulder you can lean on. Technically, you can lean on other people, but sometimes they're not there when you need whoever it is, and it's just you by yourself. And it's really important to have a power team in your mind, if you want to look at it that way. But skydiving, I viewed it as a surrender exercise. And after having stepped out of the plane, I realized that every single human experience is the same, no matter what it is. It's you looking through your eyes, feeling with your antenna on your skin, the electrical signals of whatever it is you're experiencing. It was crazy as shit in the beginning. I started freaking out, having like for the first split second, I had pure primal, what is going on? Why am I falling out of the sky? But then I came to it and I was like, oh my God, I could see the left and right side of Florida. This is amazing. And it was a pretty cool vibration, if you want to call it that.
Did your mom do it with you?
No, I went by myself. It was 13,500 feet. She would never go.
I just thought maybe, it was a mom and son thing.
I wish. I invited her, but she was like, nah, can't do that.
There's this show on YouTube that I'm obsessed with called Yes Theory. And it's four guys that started, were broke, living in Toronto, and they just started saying yes to everything. Yes to, life. Yes to the craziest things, like cornering Justin Trudeau and getting them to say hi back to them. And then so finally they were asked to move to Venice Beach in California. And one of the guys in the show, he loves skydiving, anything to do with heights. So he challenged Will Smith to bungee cording out of a helicopter. And so Will Smith, being the crazy guy he is, he says, I'll say yes, but I'm going to one up you. We're going to do it on my 50th birthday. And I challenge you guys have to do it with me over the Grand Canyon. Damn. And so sure enough, on his 50th birthday, there was, of course, he's a celebrity, so it's this big, huge thing. And I just thought it was the coolest concept, because we're so worried about all these things in the world. And no doubt, there's things that, if your soul feels that you should go and do things to help the world in this now in the moment, do it. But, we're so focused on worrying about the better future or this and that, what about the moments with your kids or your grandkids or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or like you mentioned, by yourself, or we're talking about by ourselves? I mean, we miss all those moments because we're so worried about everything else. And then
be then, be here now.
Yeah. And then those manifestations we want, they may be manifesting into our lives and we don't even recognize it because we're so and I see that happening all the time with clients that I work with. I'll see them doing things where I'll be like, wait a second, you have a job, you have a home, you have food in your belly, you have a roof. Wait, where are you not abundant? I'm not really understanding.
I have breath in my lungs, ground under my feet, air around my skin, a body that pumps blood that I don't really know how to pump blood consciously in.
Right.
See that right there? I love making more money than I can spend. Affirmation that I had for a long time. That's another one right there. It says $1 million a year, $83,333 a month, $19,000 a week, $2,739 a day. That's $1 million a year. Doesn't sound like that much when you break it down. Abundance, people mistake as financial abundance. Financial abundance is bridge. It creates not necessarily opportunity, but the opportunity to reach and connect people. You can then connect people in a company, connect people in scenarios, go do different things. Money is usually synonymous with freedom for people, but the actual manifestation of money is the emotion of freedom itself, not the feeling of what it would be like if you had money. And so you have to be able to feel like you can be and do and have whatever you want, wherever you want, whatever you want. And that's the biggest fucking thing that's so difficult, is like, I don't feel like that now. I'm working 60 hours a week, slaving away, doing things that I don't want to do, coming home burnt out, tired, feeling like I'm a corpse dragging myself around. How do I feel that? The little things. It all builds up.
When I think too, even the people that have mastered this at some levels in their life, they go through these processes where we go, I don't know if we revert back, but we go back into a state where we get stronger in it. I was actually just I just had dinner with a friend of mine just before I came on the show, and this lady, right, her name was Donna Campbell, and I'm going to actually be interviewing her probably the next month. But through COVID, she went through something similar that a lot of us went through. She was a pretty well-known speaker, traveling all over the country, internationally speaking, and then all of a sudden, what ended up happening is she's not traveling and she's not doing the things that she loved. Well, what ended up happening is something hit her and told her to write this book, and now she's on the Amazon bestsellers list. And so, and what's happening is everything's happening for a reason. I think that, and I went back into the corporate world, and I've been working in the corporate world and stuff like that, but none of that really matters. It really matters that when we get to the point where, like you mentioned, where you're so exhausted, where you're doing things that are not feeling right, then that's just a sign that, because I always think of your body as like a GPS. If your body is saying, feeling all that, then it's probably saying, don't go there anymore. It's time to say, go right or left, or, change direction. And I think that, I think it's very necessary for us to go through those things, because it gets us stronger when it comes down to creating this world. And what made us happy a year ago may not be what's going to make us happy now. So drastically changes. So, and I think we talked a lot about this back in, what was that, in your house in July? I think it was something like that.
Time's been weird as shit in 2021.
It totally flew by. And it was funny because I moved up here and then I was off of Facebook and I thought, I haven't talked to them. I haven't talked to them in a while. And then I was like, and then I got back on Facebook and I messaged you and I was like, we should probably get together for dinner soon. But it's really feels like we were just in Sarasota like last week.
And that was the beginning of 2020, and it's now 3 months, a whole quarter into 2021, and it feels like no time has passed, and it's going to continue feeling like that. It's terrifying, yeah, and amazing at the same time.
Yeah, and another friend of mine, she's watching right now, and she and I were just on a cruise to on Harmony of the Seas, like September 2019, and that feels like that was just not that long ago. And and I think that's very true, that, because I think when you're in the now of the moment, time moves very fast because you're not really thinking about it. And when you're drudging through it, when you're just getting up, going to work, doing the same things over again, and you're not in your heart, I think that's the key. It's not when you're not in your heart, then you're gonna feel like everything is dragging on. And I think that's one of the key things that we forget. And I think that you're probably getting back to that, because I know you mentioned before the show that there's a lot of big changes happening, or a lot of big
Keeping up with life is probably the biggest thing that people can do. And it sounds almost disempowering to say it in that way, but that's kind of how it is sometimes. It just keeps going, and we want to retreat into our comfort zones and be able to have instant gratification to avoid the discipline of delayed gratification. And because of that, it's the difficulty is not burning out like a sun, because people need to have good boundaries with when there needs to be discipline and moments of healthy self-love. And it's like, hey, I'm teetering on working too much, or teetering on being too lazy and wanting to let the universe do it for me too much. And like we were saying in the beginning, we need momentum. And I feel like a big solution to that is a Greek word, anamnesis, ANAMNESIS. It means loss of forgetfulness. It's kind of like a snap you back into your senses in the moment, wake back up, come to your senses, slow down, take a step back, reorient whatever it is that you're planning. Realize that you might have been going in a direction that you weren't intending to go, or you thought you wanted, but really it was just kind of like, hey, I know I'll feel better if I do this, but no, I know that I actually need to do whatever it is that you need to do in your situation.
See, it's called, what do they call it? Perseverance.
Yeah.
Resilience. I was just listening to a speaker today. His name is Jeff Hoffman, and he started Priceline.com, and he was he's a guest speaker at work today. That's one of the things he had said, is that people are going to put down your dreams. You're going to run across difficulties. Your own mind is going to say not to do things. And he goes, that's okay. That's never going to change. He goes, you just have to get yourself up, no matter what your mind says or other people say, continue towards whatever it is you're dreaming about. And he's like, and he talked about Priceline. He says, I didn't start Priceline because I wanted to be a millionaire or because I wanted to be a CEO. I started Priceline because I wanted to travel, and I had a goal to see 50 countries in my life, and now I've seen 97. And he was like, it had nothing to do with wanting to be rich. I wanted to travel and see the world. And I thought that was pretty commendable, because what drives people is different for everybody. And I think that, some people want to be, they want to have homes with their children, with lots of children, and that's wonderful. I think that that's what they should do. I mean, I have a really good friend. He would probably, he not only has 3 of his own children, but he's a social worker, and he would probably adopt all the abused children he possibly could, except for his wife wouldn't allow him to bring in all the so, all the children into the house. And so we have a comment. Almost 60, I'm still learning more and more about how to manifest my reality. I asked for help losing weight, and I was given a free puppy. Boy, am I getting exercise now.
That'll do it for you.
That happens all the time.
Let me ask you a very strategic question. If you could ask the universe a question, be guaranteed an answer in context of today's show, what would you ask? Or what would you ask if you were asking for the perspective of your audience? Or ask whatever comes to mind.
I would probably ask the universe, how do we bring happiness to the world?
Gotta jump in the deep end there, don't you? You can't make people happy. You can make yourself happy, and through your own action, positively affect others so that they view your action or their action as something that is bringing them happiness. Mm-hmm. And so the only thing in your power is to keep yourself in a positive state. And people often run themselves into the ground trying to keep everybody else happy, and then they themselves are a corroded, fractured, and almost utterly drained version of themselves for keeping everybody else up except for themselves. Keep yourself up, keep others up. Then you'll bring them happiness.
All right, so you want me to ask a lighter question?
The show's about financial, manifesting abundance. Anything and all things manifesting. Law of attraction. I'll give you some context for potentially great question. 90% of manifestation, when I talk about it, I don't think in any way about the material or physical aspect that comes after. I think about the emotional, mental experience of it. So something like that. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Finding work. There's a lot of people struggling for work right now. Manifesting financial abundance in their life while they're struggling.
The greatest reallocation of wealth in all history is happening right now, and it's being facilitated through the medium of cryptocurrency. The opportunity we have to be our own bank and holder of our own currency with cryptocurrency. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it because I really don't know myself that well. I just have had enough. I know enough to have had successes with it, financial successes. I'll give an example. I went in on one of the most popular apps, Coinbase, into this one coin, February 23rd, held it for 18 days, had 5 times gains. I'll just say it because it's a relatively low amount. I put in 2K and got back 11 or 12K. Bam. That was in 2 weeks. And that's a lot of money because usually people don't make that much paycheck to paycheck. And cryptocurrency, is something that has hundreds, if not thousands, of applications that you can actually already see and utilize. But it's so difficult to explain it because it's like trying to describe a smartphone to a person that's only used a flip phone. It's pretty difficult.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that have made a substantial amount of money off of cryptocurrency. Even back in, I have a friend named Joseph. He just quit working and he's been traveling and lived in Bali for about a year, just off of what he makes off of cryptocurrency. So, and it changed his life. So I know that that's out there. So yeah.
Actionable advice: 20 minutes on YouTube will make you understand probably more than 90% of the people on the street that you'll meet.
Well, that's true. There's a lot on YouTube. So I think what you're saying here too is that to change your viewpoint, change your perspective on how you're going to make money.
Yes and no. Change your perspective, absolutely, I agree with that, but more so, there is a stubborn pride that comes with long, hard effort and work into a specific field, and people want to. So yeah, absolutely, change perspective is pretty much the essence of it. 100%. People want to hold tight to the concept that hard work is the only way to accomplish anything, when smart work is the way that we is the way that we leverage our time, because there's only 24 hours in a day. If you really want to make money, you have to be able to make money while you're asleep. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and most of the wealthy people that I do know, they mention that you have to learn how to make money in shorter amounts of time. And even you have to max it, because you still have to spend time. You have to have time for yourself. You have to have time for your family, your loved ones. There's just a whole bunch of other things that are important just as much as money, and money is an energy. And so that energy supports, whatever it is you want to do. And so I think that, I think we have to try to change the perspective out of, work, and change that slave mindset in a sense. I'm just going to go out there and say it, because there is a slave mindset that has been put in us. You have to go and work 8 to 12 hours a day. And if you don't, then you're not a hard worker, you're lazy, or whatever it is. And I don't really think that that's true. I think that we can be successful. It's like we were talking about abundance, and I think I know you've experienced this yourself. I've done so many cool things that I didn't even have any money. I took 5 vacations in 1 year, and I think I actually on paper that year only made about $35,000. Now I made more money in other aspects on cash, but what had happened? People paid for me to travel. And so
it comes in crazily out of the ordinary ways.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that even linked down to this is rewinding about 12 years ago. I really didn't have anybody hardly at all, and my best friend and I went to 6 months of concerts. We saw Evanescence. We saw, all these really cool bands for free, because people kept on giving us concert tickets, and so, it's just one of those things. We just put it out there. We wanted to go to concerts, and we got backstage passes and for other different things. And, it's just one of those things where I think that, I think it was very true. If you make a fixation on, I think you mentioned at the beginning, the $1 million manifesting that, if you break it down into crazy, simple, stupid, is what I tell salespeople. Then it really isn't a lot of money.
It's not. It's literally dust in the wind in the long term, as is everything. And that's the unfortunate thing, is we idolize whatever it is that we desire, and we don't see that it's just like everything else, utterly meaningless in the end.
Yeah, and so really the fun is just the creation of it. I think it was Osho. I think it was the most expensive car in the world. He manifested 200 of them. So he got criticized because how could you bring 200 of those cars in when people don't have that kind of money. He says, you don't get it. It just is a thought, and then it happens. And yes, I had to do the work to be able to be that clear, to be able to have that thought and have it happen. But he's like, if you could do that in a thought and have that, we could change this entire world with a thought. And it's because we think everything is so difficult, or we create everything. We think everything that comes with hard work. And then we don't have what we think, or we don't deserve. We feel we don't deserve either. So that's the other thing. So yeah, that I think value is a big thing. We don't value ourselves as human beings.
There's a silent epidemic killing more people than COVID-19 called self-hatred. Another word for it is apathy. It's the slow degradation of human morale and desire to have will to live, or really having the will to care is something that I write about in the in a book. Oh wait, I finished writing it actually. I was about to say I'm finishing writing. I finished writing a book about a month ago. Yeah, that's one of the things I manifested that baffled me too. I was like,
I remember you talked about that last time I saw you.
yeah, and I finished it. It's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you on book tour then, right?
Indeed. You see, I'm wanting to be I want to do that, and I want to speak, and I want to do all those different things. And I don't want to say that I'm going to be on a hiatus until COVID's over, but I know with COVID, there's a limitation to that all.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because my friend Donna, she did a virtual book signing, and it was all on Zoom. And she said it was crazy. People were like literally from the Philippines buying her book, and she was signing them on Zoom right in front of them, and then they were dropped in the mail to them. And I thought, and I just sat there with my jaw up a little bit. I was like, that is crazy creative, and that is the coolest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, I would have rather done it in person.
Think of it myself.
I would have rather have done it in person. And she says, I didn't even know how to do it. She goes, but I have a group that follows me in the Philippines, and they had literally, I thought, I don't know how to do this, but I want to do it. And they messaged her and says, is there anything we can help you with, Donna? We just really want to help you. And she responded back and she said, well, could you help me with this? And they gave her a whole plan on how to do a virtual book signing. And I'm still baffled. I think that's like the coolest freaking thing in the planet. I'd rather be there, but like you said, COVID has changed everything. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that's not what we're here talking about. We're talking about abundance. And so what did they say?
Anti-socialist.
Oh my gosh. I know Linda's laughing right now. So I think that I think we're gonna have to get creative, because our message still has to get out there. And I think that we're gonna have to get super creative. And that's just, it is what it is. We're gonna have to get out there and enjoy ourselves and share a message. So what would you leave the audience, when we're wrapping up? What's a thought that you would leave the audience before we wrap up tonight?
This is a birthday gift to myself. Each dot on this is a week in my life, up until 100 years. You are going to die. I am going to die. We're all going to be dust pretty soon, relatively, in the perspective of the universe. It's best to remember that when deciding, hey, I'm going to do this positive, pleasureful thing to avoid my anger at myself for not doing what I actually want to be doing, which is probably like just working on something or being disciplined, or like you were saying to me in the beginning, I did something that I didn't think I would be doing. You started working out, 2 weeks of that. You chose to do that. If you could have chosen a million different things different than that to choose, but you didn't. Choosing is 100% in your power. people come up with a million reasons to say that they have to make a decision. All the justifications and reasons in the mind cloud the actual possibility that you have. Give yourself an opening to choose what you actually want, because you will be dead someday, and you might look back and regret, and regret's the greatest poison.
You know, it's funny you should say that. I actually went towards it. I never had really any regrets in my life except for one, and it was one of those things where I'd come up with a million reasons why I didn't have to go toward, finish this regret. And it was one simple thing. I had a year left of my bachelor's degree, and so I've had that year, by the way, since probably when you were about 3 years old. That's how long it's been going on. And so I thought to myself, if I would have just done this, it'd be done. And I've got this regret, and I'm a freaking healer. I work on healing people. And I thought, well, I can't sit here with the regret in me anymore, because when I lay my hands on somebody to do energy healing, I don't want that essence of regret being there, because it will. It can any type of energy in us can pass through to somebody else when we're doing healing. So I rolled my butt in college, and I have another 10 months left of my bachelor's degree. Do I need it professionally? No, I don't. But the point is that I didn't want to have any regret in my life. And it was.
Do I want it? Yes. I know.
Yeah.
I said, do I want it? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And it's just one of those things where I thought, yes. And why wouldn't we say yes to our soul? And you know what's really cool? The first class, it's an environmental science class, and we're learning about the food chain. And what am I learning about? I'm like, that is so much like oneness. I'm like, everything is interconnected. And my friends are like, only you would make environmental science spiritual. And I'm like, well, you're right.
Well, the food chain, we are literally every like 20 something days replaced utterly by whatever it is that we eat. And so, I mean, it is all one.
It's all oneness. One last comment on that, and then we'll close out the show. Linda says, I've had so many memories of times I should have taken another road instead of the road I took. Everyone needs to follow their passion. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that inspired me, Linda, is my mother said that at the age of 49. And so I'm now 2 years away from 49. And I started saying yes to myself, many years ago. That evolves. And so, but absolutely. Well, Garin, thanks so much for being on the show tonight. His links are in the description of the show, by the way. And he has a YouTube channel. I don't know if he's posted anything on there in a while, but every once in a while you'll see a video from him, and pretty wise stuff. So go and check it out and subscribe to his channel. And this show will be on LA Tribune's Roku TV here in the next few days. And next week we'll have Suzanne Ross coming on the show, and that's going to be a pretty incredible show as well. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. We're on every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Much love, everybody. Peace.
An abundance of gratitude.